Losing your vision makes you gain a deeper appreciation of your life. Especially if you have a degenerative eye disease. Because you don't know how many more sunsets you'll see. So I better enjoy this one.
So it's 9:55.
I'm not blind, but I am blind. I don't see as well as most people with this. So again, when somebody says, you're not looking at me, it's kind of a foolish thing because I am. In fact, I'm looking at him too. And in fact, I'm looking over there and I'm looking over there.
I can see faces better if I get close up to them, like uncomfortably close, which isn't very accepted in modern society. So I don't see faces in general. In fact, I have no idea what most of my family looks like without using some type of assistive technology to do that.
So age-related macular degeneration is a disease, it's a condition that develops over a person's lifetime if they're at risk for actually developing that disease. It's really a condition that affects certain people who have certain genetics and certain lifestyle habits.
Usually with macular degeneration, it's characterized as a loss of your central vision.
Typically you keep the peripheral vision so you can see bigger objects, but the detail vision is gone.
We have large blind spots, scotomas as they're called, but we retain our peripheral vision. We don't have the best color vision, and we also have poor vision at night, so night blindness.
Well, age-related macular degeneration is basically a failure of the retina, or parts of the retina, that occurs upon aging. You have a variety of kind of cells that detect light and create images. And some of those cells die upon aging. And where they die, that spot in your retina is basically dysfunctional. So this creates blurred or distorted images.
What happens at the beginning is there are certain places where you look where you don't see anything. You learn how to shift your eye a little bit to the right of it or to the left of it.
Well, I get asked all the time, how exactly do you see? And I say, like, if I'm looking at your face, I can see maybe one eye and the other is not really there. Although my brain has worked so hard that it almost fills it in for me.
A lot of people think you have that large blind spot, that large black area in your central vision, and that's not true at all. We don't have this big floating black area in our central vision. It's just the brain fills in the information to try and make up for what's not there. So we don't see this black spot, we just don't see anything at all right there.
The central vision, of course, is, you see people, you see their faces, you make out their features.
So it's difficult though. It's really, really difficult, especially having young children that are changing so quickly, not knowing what they look like.
When most people think of somebody that's visually impaired, they think of the things that are like, oh, I can't read a book, I can't drive, I can't see a TV, maybe I can't go to the movie theater. They don't think about the little things that are the most important, like I have not been able to see my husband's face, my daughter or my son's face. All these years, I haven't been able to see any of it. I haven't known exactly what they look like. So when I look at them, I'm just seeing their shadow. My daughter has a lot of these little freckles, and probably 6 or 7 years ago, my mom noticed, like, you can't see your freckles, can you? And I said, no, I can't. And so she got all these little gemstones, and we placed them on her face, on all of her freckles, and so I could get in close and see where all of her little freckles were. I've walked up to the wrong man a gazillion times and started talking and then realized, like, oh, you're not my husband. I've also gone up to the wrong kid and given him a hug, and he'll be like, Miss Liz, it's Will. So I've done a lot of wrong things. I was diagnosed at 15 or 16, and it had been years of failing the eye tests at the elementary school. And they kept sending me, my vision was probably 20/40, 20/60. Finally, at 15 or 16, they figured it out when they saw a little bit of scarring on my retina. I think there came a point in my life where I had to decide, I'm not going to let this visual impairment stop me. I have this visual impairment. It's what it is. It's not going to keep me from doing anything. I'm going to persevere and push right through it. It's not going to be a roadblock. I had always wanted to do an Ironman. That was my big bucket list goal. And so I wanted to do it before I turned 41. That was the thing. I didn't know how, as a visually impaired person, would I ride a bike safely and race. So I chose to do it without telling anybody. I figured if I said, I can't see, they wouldn't let me in the race. So I got my own bike and trained and then started racing triathlon. And I did maybe, a handful of them, and I crashed every race. So I'd come through the finish line with just road rash up and down my side, and everybody would be like, what happened? And I was like, I don't know, I just fell. And so I reached out to Ironman, and they told me how I could race as a visually impaired athlete. That introduced me to racing like I had never known was available. And I think my theme kind of became, I'm not going to sink, I'm going to swim. No matter what, I'll figure it out.
I never thought I would quit any of the martial arts that I do. The term martial art, it was really more meant to be learning to self-improve, to bring your nature, true nature out. It actually helped me to be a little more patient with my vision. At first I was frustrated with a lot of different things and stuff. I wasn't angry, I was just frustrated I couldn't do certain things. Macular degeneration on both eyes.
With macular degeneration, there are two primary stages of the disease. And the one that most people suffer from is called dry macular degeneration. So 9 out of 10 people that have macular degeneration will have dry, and you can slowly lose your vision from dry macular degeneration.
Dry AMD is an age-related macular degeneration that results from the loss of photoreceptor cells. And it's to be distinguished from wet AMD, which also involves loss of photoreceptor cells, but is due to excessive bleeding in the retina. So bleeding caused being wet as compared to the dry AMD, which is just the loss of the photoreceptor cells and maybe the underlying retinal pigmented epithelial cells, whose function it is to support the photoreceptor cells.
My name is Joan LeBaron, and I have both wet and dry macular degeneration. One eye is dry and the other eye is wet. What happened was I would notice that at the top of windowsills, or when I looked at things that were supposed to be straight, they weren't. So then I was referred to a retinal specialist.
So a warning sign that you may be developing macular degeneration would be blurry vision right in the center of your vision. Another classic symptom is noticing that straight lines that you know should be straight are actually wavy or distorted.
A person may notice that they're having trouble reading small print, or they may notice that lines look wavy, or that they're having trouble doing things that they used to be able to do without much effort.
Well, a lot of times when people ask me if I see something, I'll say yes. Did you see that? Yes. People think meditation is just sitting down, having your mind nice and still and quiet, your body is still and quiet, empty, so to speak. Zen archery, Kudo, the way of the bow, there are many different ways, and they were basically ways to enlightenment. It switched over to a form of meditation and self-improvement, a way of discovering yourself and balancing yourself out, balancing everything about yourself, clearing your mind, balancing your body. And that's basically what the forms of Kudo help to do. It's actually a very beautiful practice. Usually when you develop some kind of a problem like macular degeneration, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to sink into a hole. It's up to you. And hopefully somebody who's in your circle can help pull you out of that and push on and actually improvise, adapt, and overcome. When something happens during war, you got to improvise. There's no true plan that will always go as planned. So you improvise. So when something happens, you try to adapt to your situation and circumstance. You try to overcome any obstacle. 9 times out of 10, yourself is the obstacle.
I'm a very active person and I love to do outdoor things. I hike, I garden, I have beautiful gardens. We live on a river. I like to get in the canoe and canoe up the river. One of our favorite things to do together with my husband and I is forage. We go out into the woods and we bring our baskets, our foraging knives, and out we go hunting mushrooms. Maitake, hen of the woods, chicken of the woods, boletes, oyster mushrooms, black trumpets, pheasant back. There's just lots. And they come at different times of the year, so we really enjoy getting out there in the woods and finding these mushrooms. I also collect medicinal mushrooms like reishi and chaga, lion's mane, which is both edible and medicinal. We just loved it. We love being out in the woods is key. The only difference for me now with that particular adventure is that if the woods are too dim and as the sun begins to set, it's much harder for me to focus and see things, but I still enjoy being out there. So, I continue to do the things I love to do, which is being outdoors and being in nature. I was diagnosed about 10 years ago. I went in for a routine eye exam and the doctor took a look at my eyes and said, "Had anyone ever told you that you had macular degeneration?" And I said, "No." I was familiar with that because my dad at 80 had macular. It was disbelief, I thought, this is a mistake, or, maybe he thinks he sees something, but oh my gosh, my dad has it. He told me eat my spinach and take my vitamins and like that. So it was about 8 years later maybe where things started to change for me. And then it was like, oh yeah, I guess I have this thing. And now it's here with me, so. Then, it sort of settles in and you become, or I became really depressed, thinking about what this means. How am I gonna move forward in my life? What do I need to do? How do I need to, should I learn Braille? All kinds of things went through my mind. And I sort of took the attitude of, well, I'm really gonna focus and work on this and do my very best to take good care of myself. And I'm gonna keep this at bay as long as I can. And I still feel that way because for every visit in the last year that I've had, Dorothy Hitchmoth says to me, "I don't know what you're doing, just keep on doing it." It's about being proactive, really, taking charge of your own health. You are what you eat. You are what you think. I have the power. I do have the power to make changes and choices. You can go down that bunny trail of negativity and feeling sorry for oneself, or you can go the other way and say, hey, what can I do? How can I contribute and help?
We are in the midst of an epidemic of macular degeneration that is not being acknowledged. When you're 75, your risk for developing macular degeneration is almost 1 in 3. So it's happening, but it's not really being recognized, except by retina specialists.
Macular degeneration it's not an uncommon condition. Right now, it affects up to 20 million people just in the United States. It's expected to reach 288 million worldwide by 2040. So if you actually find out that you have a family member with macular degeneration, that means you have a 40% higher risk of developing it yourself.
You can have those genetic mutations and also still not get it because of other factors. The genetics doesn't completely predispose you to, or inevitably dispose you to age-related macular degeneration. It only increases the risk for getting macular degeneration.
If you have macular degeneration, I want you to tell your children and your grandchildren what's going on and what your experience is, because that's going to give them perhaps decades of an advanced knowledge about a condition that they might be able to really slow down, and I'll stop short of saying prevent. The number one most important thing you can do if you know you have a family history of macular degeneration is quit smoking if you smoke, wear sunglasses when you go outside, and eat fruits and vegetables, specifically darkly colored fruits and vegetables, every single day.
The factors that are modifiable for macular degeneration are the lifestyle choices you make in terms of what you eat, your level of activity, your sun exposure, whether you smoke or you don't smoke, and even whether you live in an area with air pollution.
If everybody did that and took those few simple steps when they found out about their risk for macular degeneration, we would reduce the percentage of people that get vision loss or have vision loss from macular degeneration up to 70%.
You can slow the rate of macular degeneration exploiting modifiable factors, for instance, stopping smoking or moving from a diet that makes you more susceptible to age-related macular degeneration to a diet that is more protective against macular degeneration.
Having the right eye doctor for this diagnosis is just so important, and I do, fortunately. Right from the beginning, she said, I want you to start taking these eye meds. They have the highest amounts of zeaxanthin and lutein, and so I immediately went out and got those and have been taking them religiously ever since. And it shows because I've continued to maintain my steady vision, so that's good.
The dark leafy greens are going to give you antioxidants that are called carotenoids, and there are two specific ones, lutein and zeaxanthin. They are found in the macula, and they help absorb the damaging blue light rays from the sun. And our bodies don't produce lutein and zeaxanthin. We have to ingest it. So dark leafy greens are the greatest source of that. So adding some kale and spinach on a regular basis, a salad a day, might be one of the best things to do.
Let's remember, if we go back 3,000 years or maybe 2,500 years, Hippocrates was already a wise man, and Hippocrates told us food is medicine, right? So he was already thinking way ahead of his time. Now fast forward 2,500 years, and what kind of foods are we talking about? We predict based on the epidemiological data that we can save hundreds of thousands of people from age-related macular degeneration in just 5 years, just by changing the diet. You don't need any medication. We're talking about just changing the diet, as simple as that. And this is not very costly diet, by the way.
Another area of diet that we might want to start to consider in terms of reducing our risk for macular degeneration or its progression, if we have it already, is being careful about the kind of sugars or carbohydrates that we eat, because those that enter our bloodstream most quickly, those that are high on the glycemic index, have been shown to negatively affect people with macular degeneration or to increase their risk for developing it.
So let me first define for you a couple of terms. One is called the glycemic index. Now, the glycemic index measures the rate at which sugar from a food is liberated or arrives into the bloodstream. When the sugar comes in at a very high level at a very fast rate, such as, for instance, drinking a soda which is loaded with sugar, your cells are confronted with a tremendous sugar burden. But when they see this major burst of sugar coming out, they can't defend themselves, and they start to accumulate damage. that damage is associated with the very same kind of cellular damage that results in dysfunctional retinal pigmented epithelial cells, which then can't support the photoreceptor cells that then results in age-related macular degeneration. So it's very interesting that three major diseases, which do primarily afflict the elderly, cardiovascular disease, age-related macular degeneration, and type 2 diabetes, it's interesting that these diseases don't present like each other. They appear to be three completely different diseases. And yet, what is the single thing that's healthy with regard to each of them is that of moving to a low glycemic index diet. The diet is very powerful medicine.
Eat your spinach, take your vitamins, meditate, exercise, do all the things that are really good for you, whether you have this disease or not. But by doing those things, you're really going to help yourself.
I think we know a certain amount of quite secure information where there's absolutely no risk involved in eating a healthy diet. And yet, it is quite difficult to get people to adapt to that.
You know, as an eye doctor, if I could scream one message from the top of a mountain, it would be that the best way to make sure that your eyes stay healthy is to take care of your whole body. That's key. When you take care of your body, you're reducing all the risks associated with the most sight-threatening eye conditions.
Well, I think there's just also a general feeling of when you eat healthier food, you actually feel lighter and healthier and more energetic. So I think there are many rewards to consuming a healthful diet, in addition to avoiding some of the diseases which are associated with consuming an unhealthy diet.
Hey there, my name is Sam and I have macular degeneration. We definitely live in a sight-first world. It's super difficult. Everything is set up for vision. Signs, I mean, you know, do I pull on this door or do I push? Well, there's a sign there. It's probably telling me, but I can't tell. Although I was diagnosed at an early age, much like most people growing up with low vision, I fought it tooth and nail. I didn't want to be visually impaired. I wanted to be like all the other kids in my class and my neighborhood, all my friends. And so I never fully accepted it until much later in life, probably in my early 30s, was when I finally accepted that this is the way it is. It's not gonna change, so why fight it? This is who I am. A lot of people struggle with the emotional side of vision loss, and I talk about it all the time on my channel and where I work, that is perfectly okay. And in fact, it's recommended. You have to go through those stages to come out on the other end. You're going through the different stages of grief because you lost something, and that's perfectly fine. And so as a loved one, a spouse, a sighted supporter, you have to let these people have those bad days because it's part of the process. Once you learn the new way to do things, you're gonna be able to do anything you want to do. It's just you have to have the knowledge of how to do it this new way and the determination to not let it stop you from achieving your goals. The Blind Life is my YouTube channel. I started in 2013. On The Blind Life, I have over 700 videos, all about living life with vision loss, tips and tricks videos, how-to videos. I've been making content on YouTube for over a decade now, which officially makes me an OG YouTuber, apparently. I focus heavily on assistive technology, so it's a great resource for the viewer if they are interested in some type of device, some type of technology or software, computers, mobile technology, and they're not sure if it's gonna be a good fit for them. They can watch one of my videos, and all of my product reviews are honest reviews. I come at it with a very analytical opinion on the pros and the cons of the device, and so it's gonna be a great resource for anybody that needs information about that. I get comments and emails all the time from people in the community and just telling me how helpful the channel's been and helping them deal with a very difficult time in their life. And it really makes me feel amazing, because one thing I keep telling people is I'm nothing special. I'm just a normal guy. I'm living this journey like everyone else is. But hearing all those compliments and all the thank yous from everybody has been tremendous.
Well, I have to say I was really more puzzled than anything else because I hadn't really known that much about macular degeneration. The fact that I may have to give up playing cards or not drive are things that I am very sorry to think that I can no longer do because I'm a person that I love to drive, I love to go places and do things. But that is something that I feel I have to adjust to, but it's normal. I'm older. I've done a lot of things, been a lot of places, seen a lot of wonderful sights. I can still watch television. I can still do many things. I can still listen to the books. So I don't dread the future. I wasn't worried about losing my independence because I was married and I have 6 children, and I knew that there would be people around. I wasn't afraid to ask for help. What was that again about the shrimp? Read me that again. My mother had macular degeneration. I wasn't actually aware that at the time that that's what it was. She couldn't, we thought it was an astigmatism, but I believe that it really was a macular degeneration. I had friends that had it, and I knew that you never go completely blind with it, which is a wonderful kind of thing to realize because you do see around the center. I definitely can't see well where I look straight at somebody. Well, the most important thing that I lost was my ability to read small print. I couldn't read newspapers or magazines anymore, so I needed magnifiers. Well, it was a wonderful, wonderful resource to find out about the organization that Daisy is working for, Future in Sight. And when I called them, I found out that I would have the privilege of having someone actually come to my home to help me manage the kind of everyday tasks which were becoming a little bit more difficult. So that was really marvelous, and also that was the source of my finding out about the talking books. Beth came 3 times and helped me tremendously with all kinds of suggestions, not only just in general, but also little aids around the house, which have made my life easier.
So we have lots of low-tech devices that can help a person in the home. Some of these may be for writing, for example. We often use plastic guides, which can help somebody fill out a check well, or address an envelope, or even just using a Sharpie instead of writing with a blue ballpoint pen can have really tremendous results. If we're going high-tech in a person's home, I think that some of the smart home devices are tremendously useful for a person with vision loss. Consider that a smart home speaker may be able to replace multiple other devices. You can use it to set a timer while you're cooking. You can use it to get the weather, or even to set your alarm or control your lights.
This is the best time in history to be living with low vision because of technology, because of things like ride sharing, because of smartphones. Now, if I need to go anywhere, if I need to take my daughter somewhere, if I need to go to her school for an event, I can just call up Lyft, and within 5 minutes, there's a car here to take me right there, and it's so easy and convenient.
Outside of the home, we may recommend different devices to help people. Sometimes people have a difficult time reading things at moderate or longer distances. So in those cases, sport glasses or monoculars may give the person sufficient magnification to still be able to see things at a distance.
The eyeglasses that I have are considered wearables, and I wear those sometimes to see TV because it works through the phone. You can use the phone camera, which is a very clear picture, or you can use the glasses. And so I actually have used it to paint my toenails. I've used it to watch TV. I've used it to look at recipes in the kitchen. I actually have never been able to really see my kid's face or my husband's face. And so when I first got it, I zoomed in on their faces, and that was really neat. My mom's face. And I said to my husband, "Why did I marry you?"
High-tech devices can be tremendously helpful in the supermarket, but you probably don't need to go out and buy something separate. A cell phone with the right apps can be amazingly useful to identifying different products because you can use magnifiers as well as barcode scanners to help you in the grocery store.
Grocery stores like to switch up their aisles a lot. Just randomly, all of a sudden, everything's moved in different places. It's like, I just memorized your store.
Self-checkout is very difficult because if you have to pick out your item from the screen, I can't pick my item out. In fact, I went to Whole Foods the other day and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, no, the salad bar is on the screen." Well, there were like 10 things on the screen, so I just picked one. I was like, I don't know if I'm picking a salad bar. And then there were like 10 boxes you had to choose. And I was like, this box looks like my box. So I don't know what I bought. I don't know what I actually paid for. I know what I left with. But like that, and then the credit card machines. I mean, everything you put in it asks a gazillion questions now. There's like a red button, a yellow button, a green button, and it's asking like, do you want an email receipt? Do you want a printed receipt? Do you want cash back? I mean, they keep coming, is this your number? And for people like me, I have no idea what that says. It needs to be audible.
As soon as you start to experience any type of vision loss, and if it's going to continue, if it's a degenerative condition, or if the prognosis is maybe even losing vision totally, the sooner you can start working with adaptive equipment and sooner you can start making these changes in your everyday life, the easier it's going to be in the long run. A lot of this stuff is going to be easier to learn while you still do have some usable vision, rather than later when it's all gone.
There are a lot of different ways to maintain your reading and writing skills. It becomes really important to start using your peripheral vision early, and that's going to help you maintain your reading well into the more advanced stages of the disease. There's also lots of tools that you can learn to use, such as writing guides, illuminated magnifying glasses, also even writing stands. Depending on the needs of the person, we may need to use electronic magnification so that the person can see things much larger than can be achieved with traditional glass magnifiers. There are a lot of products that can be obtained at low or no cost for people with a vision impairment. A good example is the Talking Books program, and this is through the National Library of Congress and managed by your state library. So an application can be filled out and then certified by your doctor or your low vision provider.
Well, in the kitchen, it was always hard for me to see the microwave. I couldn't read the little instructions. I couldn't see where the start was so she put there are little buttons that kind of rubber buttons that stick. And she put them on half a minute, 1 minute, and the start buttons. And so that was really great because I use that all the time. Shopping is a challenge for more than one reason, not all due to macular degeneration, because I'm not so good at stooping down to get things off the lowest shelf anymore either. And it helps a lot if I know the color of the thing that I'm looking for. I think the pharmacy is the worst because when you go to get things at the pharmacy, almost everything is white, and it's hard to see the writing. So actually, I often just ask the pharmacist where something is, and they're so kind they take me to see it, to find it, and then I don't have to find it myself. Don't be afraid to ask for help. When you're in a store or when you're anywhere, if there's something that you can't see, airports are a problem, for example, then ask somebody to help you. Everyone is usually very kind about that, and sometimes people go out of their way to help you. And the other thing is, when you're making your shopping list, write it nice and big because sometimes you can't read your own writing. I think the most important thing to remember when you're facing macular degeneration is that you will never go completely blind. When you're taking a drive somewhere or when you're out in nature, you can see what you saw before because your eyes are moving all the time. And your ability to appreciate beauty in the scenery or lovely sunsets or is not, it's diminished, but it isn't gone. I had a friend that used to play golf. He played golf even when he could no longer see the golf ball. It was just terrific for him. And the fact that you are able to have so much in the way of technological aids now is so important. Even though I have macular degeneration, I would never feel that it's ruining my life or making me less able to enjoy all the beautiful things that there are. I would really encourage people to think positively about all the things they can do and all the wonderful aids that you can get that make your life more interesting and more free.
It was 30 years ago that I was diagnosed, and I was told that legally I'd be blind within 20 years, statistically speaking. It was shocking. It was frightening. And for the first few weeks, I was in a daze.
I don't remember much about getting the diagnosis. I remember a lot of the testing, being in the doctor's office, being terrified of what they were doing, not understanding what they were doing. I was convinced the doctor was trying to kill me, and my parents were for some reason letting this man try to kill me. Looking back on it with an adult's eye, I realized they were just doing what they had to do to test my eyes, but it was very frightening.
When I get out of the service, I was just told, go ahead and live with it. And I didn't know anything about Blinded Veterans Association. I didn't know anything about Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire's blind associations. I had no idea. So I just did the best I could.
I find that most of the time somebody is diagnosed and they're just given this diagnosis, either at a retina specialist or a regular ophthalmologist, and they're not given any hope or there are these options available. Why don't you get in touch with this low vision specialist? They have this equipment you might like. There's just really not enough of that going on. And there are groups of people around the country that are actually working to try to increase the knowledge for folks.
Too often, the doctor says, well, the images that we've just looked at say you've got macular degeneration. There's not much we can do for you right now. You might want to think about taking these vitamin supplements. We're going to stay on top of it, so I'll see you in a year. That's usually what happens. The doctor should say, by the way, if you have any questions about this, feel free to contact me or my nurse. And you might also want to think about watching your weight, etc.
When you're diagnosed with macular degeneration and when you're losing vision from macular degeneration, you may feel alone. But I want my patients to know is they're not alone. They're not alone. I'm there to help them as their eye doctor. I'm going to make sure that they're connected to important organizations like the American Macular Degeneration Foundation, that they'll be connected with low vision rehabilitation specialists.
There was very little information available for the public. The internet was just starting up. And so I founded AMDF, and I thought I want to do something good with my life.
As an occupational therapist, it's my job to make sure that you're still able to do the things you want and need to do. And I'd like to think that that gives people hope that there's people out there who want to see you succeed.
I wanted to educate the public about the disease, to teach them what they could do to reduce their risk. I wanted to support scientific research, and I wanted macular degeneration to be understood by the populace in general.
The American Macular Degeneration Foundation approaches everything it does from the patient's perspective. So when we invest in research, we are investing in something that will hopefully produce a result sooner rather than later, and at the same time improve the quality of living with the condition.
The crucial thing is, I think, that many of the people involved in the core of AMDF have macular degeneration, and therefore they have a personal stake in the disease and the information and the organization. I think it's important for the families and the caregivers and the patients to understand there may be changes in the patient's life, but not to be afraid. It can be dealt with. And there is hope for the future. There is hope.
This is one of the most studied eye conditions out there, and there are dozens, if not hundreds, of clinical trials ongoing all the time, looking for the best in treatment and the best in cure for macular degeneration. So I'm hopeful that as I age, knowing that I have a risk for macular degeneration, that things will change in the future.
From my perspective, there's a lot of hope for macular degeneration. Just 10 years ago, it was a disease that was difficult to treat. Now there's treatment. 10 years from now, the treatments that are in clinical trials are going to be amazing.
I'm very hopeful that within the next, say, 15, 20 years, we will have approaches, both dietary approaches, lifestyle approaches, and probably pharmaceuticals that derive from the dietary and lifestyle approaches that will be helpful in terms of abating, I think, the pandemic of age-related macular degeneration.
There is a lot of hope. Technology is amazing, and there's a lot of even simple tools that can help people remain independent and keep doing the things that they love, even with macular degeneration.
Macular degeneration doesn't mean no vision. It means you just need to learn a different way to use the vision that you have.
There are so many resources out there. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There are people are wonderful, really. If you give them the chance, they want to help you. You know, I've been in stores before where I was struggling and someone came right over to me and said, "Can I help you with that? You look like you're having difficulty." "Oh, thank you so much." They're everywhere. There's little angels out there, and just ask for help if you need it, especially if you're living alone. There are lots of people that would love to pitch in and give a hand.
One of the hardest things for most people to deal with when they start losing their vision to macular degeneration is that all of a sudden they have to rely on everybody else when, for the most part, they've been independent for their whole lives. And when I work with people and they talk about that, the common word is burden. They always feel like being a burden on their family and friends. And what I tell them is that turn it around. If they were the person that needed help from you, would you feel like they were being a burden? No, of course not. You would be more than happy to help them because as humans, we like help. We get enjoyment from helping others. So you should never think about yourself as being a burden because they're going to be happy to help you.
What age does not limit you? When you're a child, you can't do everything. You can't do everything you want to do. When you're a teenager, you can. When you're in your 20s and going to college, you must do these certain things. You can't do other things. All the way through, we have limitations. Those limitations, if you allow them to stop you, will do exactly what they are, limiting.
Life is really good, and life gets even better when you just accept your limitations. We all have limitations, but find out how to work around it.
In the East, in a lot of martial arts, water is a big symbol. Learning to flow around things or flow over them. Water flows. You can't stop it. It just flows. But it takes its natural course.
I mean, everyone's going to have a challenge, you know? There won't be one person in life that doesn't face something significant. And it's how we face those things and get through them that really matters. So how are you going to do that? And I think it's okay to be upset about a situation that's not helping, right? So let yourself have that moment, but then be able to move past it.
I think with acceptance comes the confidence. Once you realize, especially in the case of macular degeneration, it's not going anywhere, unfortunately. anytime soon. This is the way it is. This is my life. So I can't change it. I just might as well accept it and find the best way to live with it and continue to live my best life. And so I think once you finally accept that, the confidence comes that to just be yourself.
So I'm different, so I might need to wear these funky glasses, or I might need to use an identity cane when I travel. But that doesn't make me any different than anybody else. And instead of worrying like what those people are going to think about me, it's me. Embrace me and show the world who I am and that I can do these things.
In spite of having macular degeneration, I have a lot of things that I can still do that enrich my life and that make life worth living.
Don't let it knock you down. Just don't let it. It's very livable. You'll live with it. There's all kinds of things out there that you can avail yourself to. Keep your beautiful spirit going and know that this is a new companion and you're going to figure it out. It's going to be all right.
I mean, I might be that little spitfire old lady that's like, I can still see. I don't know. I don't let people tell me that I can't do. And when they tell me I can't do, I'm going to show you that you're wrong and I'm going to do it.
Most of living with low vision is about determination and not letting it stopping you from doing the things that you want to do.
If you don't mind it, it doesn't matter.
I'm not going to just let anything stop me.